Start. Welcome to Preneurship Diaries. Today we have with us Praveen Ashok. Praveen's rendezvous with nature started a few years ago when he set out to look out for birds with his photography equipment for company. Since then, there has been no looking back. He is an HR professional, but while not at work or in a nature escapade, he loves to engage with people, especially children, by conducting awareness sessions on nature and wildlife, specifically birds. He, along with his friend and spouse, recently formed the Hollow Bones Trust, a non-profit education initiative focused on birds and nature exploration. He is a seeker, as he would like to call himself. He did attempt a year long career break to pursue his passion in the field of nature and wildlife. And to fund his projects, he took up wedding photography. And today I'm so excited to talk to Praveen, who is a friend, a fellow traveler, and a photographer. And I'm so excited to hear about his new venture, which is Hollow Bones, and what he's up to with it. And of course, engaging the young minds in this particular venture. And I must say, I think I've seen his work. I mean, especially the wildlife photographs which he puts up on his Lens Trails website, lenstrails.com. And I'm telling you, it's brilliant, and it's just amazing to see him, like, put out a lot of wildlife photographs out there. So do check it out. And Praveen, so welcome to my show, and I'm so glad and honored to have you here today.
Hey Shweta, I'm so excited. I feel like a celebrity. The introduction was so elaborate and you made my day. Fantastic. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
Let's get started.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely, and it's always my pleasure to have you. So yes, so let's get started then. So Praveen, you are and have been an HR professional. So what made you to pursue photography? Was it a hobby that you indulged in, and you wanted to explore? So how did this start? Yes.
So nature and I have been a travel guy since when I remember. So nature and I have always been together. It so happened that photography came much later. It was, if I remember it correctly, 2010,
Mm-hmm.
when we were expecting our first baby. And like any father to be or parent to be, I picked up a camera so that we could record the baby's moments and all those precious days, right?
Yes.
And that's when so apart from being at home, whenever I travel, I started taking the camera out. Okay, so it was my brother-in-law, sister's
Mm-hmm.
husband, who introduced me into photography, and I said, why not? And my wife has always been interested in photography. So these two influences from the close circle
Mm-hmm.
got me started. We went out. I still very vividly remember. It was Valley School,
Ah,
which is in south of
okay.
Bangalore. When we were just taking a stroll and nature stroll, and I bumped into a very beautiful small little bird called Oriental White-eye. I didn't know that such a bird existed before looking at it
Right.
through my lens. So that's where I started photography, and here I am today.
Oh, that's wonderful. And very nice to hear that you picked up the camera for your son.
Yes.
That's really lovely. And I must ask you, why the interest, especially in wildlife and that too birds? So, and I want to know, what intrigued you to, get started with this genre, and how has this journey been?
But the journey has been exciting. Why birds is because I introduced you to Oriental white eye, right? So that's what got me intrigued into birds.
Hmm.
And then when I started looking or reading more about it, there was then a very popular forum on the internet.
Right.
This is pre-Instagram
Ah,
days, which had a lot of bird photographers post their pictures,
right.
and that's what got me intrigued.
Hmm.
On the other hand, I'm a very selectively social person, so which makes it obvious for me to travel to nature destinations rather than tourist destinations.
Right.
And so that's again something where you get to explore more about
Mm-hmm.
birds.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing led to another. I got really intrigued. Then came the first sighting of tiger. So that again got me hooked into wildlife safaris, and things continued. So wildlife is something which I thoroughly enjoy, especially
Mm-hmm.
birds. So to give you a gist, there are about 1,300 species of birds in the Indian subcontinent. I did not know anything beyond sparrow and crow before I got into birding. Right? So that's what keeps me hooked on to birds. I've just, in spite of several years of effort, I've only managed to observe and photograph about 400 species of birds. So there is still a lot more to do. So it's a lifelong obsession, if I may call it.
Yes, I mean that's amazing because I know for myself, I do know about the crow and the sparrow, and I think thanks to you because I think you introduced me to a program called as naturalist program. I think that's
Yes,
when I
yes.
did learn about a whole lot of birds, and which of course, as you mentioned rightly, that even when you started out, all you knew was about the crow and the sparrow. So yes, I mean that's amazing. 400 birds is not, it's a big deal. And so glad that you're at it, and of course you are putting it out for us to see and also to learn about a whole lot of birds and of course the wildlife out there. So that's amazing. Again, thank you for sharing it with us and the world. uh,
My pleasure, always.
All right. So Praveen, so you had taken a year or two. I mean, you took a break to pursue a passion for photography and travel. So why? Why did you want to take a break? And how was this journey? And what all did you do?
Okay, I would like to be candid here.
Yes.
I would like to call it midlife crisis, if I may call so.
All right.
So jokes apart, so it was about 13, 14 years working as an HR professional, and the longest stint in that particular company. I no longer work in that company now, but I was there for about 10 years then,
Mhm,
and then after that I returned and things like that. But that was the time when I thought career-wise I was getting saturated. On the other hand, this urge to travel, this urge to take a break, has always been there. The good part is was the timing was right for
mhm,
me. So it's a very cliche term that timing is never right and things like that. I do agree with that. But that time, so my kid was younger,
mhm,
so and my wife was working from home, and my mother. So all of it, so everything just fell into place. And I thought, why not take a year's break, explore something
right.
outside. Okay, let's see how it
Mhm,
goes.
mhm,
Okay, it was very kind of my senior management in that organization. Actually, I had put in my papers. I said I'll take a break. There's no point, asking for sabbatical, then coming back and things like that. But my senior management, especially the HR deputy HR head of the organization, she was kind enough to tell me that, hey, you know what, though there is no such provision for the purpose of why you need a sabbatical, I will still make an exception
mhm,
and let you go.
mhm,
The day you decide you want to discontinue, you put your papers, no notice required. If you want to come back, the doors are welcome. It was very sweet of her to say that. So I just grabbed onto that opportunity, right? And then so I started. Couple of months passed. It was very exciting. No need to no Monday traffic, no commute problems of Bangalore and all that. And then the reality started to strike. Okay, the first reality was, though financially I was prepared for the
mhm,
entire year.
mhm,
uh, what started hitting me was the future forward, right? So this year I will pass, but what happens after that? So that's when my a couple of friends,
mhm,
in fact they're a couple, so they were already into photography, so I tagged along with them. They were kind enough to get me on board. We did our first wedding photography, and that's where got into wedding photography. Did the first wedding at small temple wedding. I was very excited. It was such a beautiful experience. And that first wedding became two, then it became 20. So till date, I've covered about 22 weddings. And all of them with them, with this couple of friends that I'm talking about. So that's how it has been. However, the main reason of taking a break,
mhm,
I ensured that that went on. I traveled the length and breadth of the country, but for northeast, because that requires much more time. So I have covered Gujarat, Rajasthan, of course Karnataka, Kerala, Odisha, Maharashtra here and there, uh, so extensively. And of course my favorite destination, Uttarakhand.
wow.
So that's how the year went by. It was time for me to get back. I must admit, I think I should have I don't know if there is ever going to be a perfect plan, but I think I should have planned a little better
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that I could have continued being off work. But then, yeah, all that happens for good. So I joined back work in 2019. 2018 is when I took the break.
All right, all
So yeah,
right. Perfect. So I want to ask you, like, when you said you'd taken that break and, you got into wedding photography as well, and also you traveled, wherever that you wanted to. So I want to ask you, like, at that point in time, so what were your learnings, from the experience? And also, uh, again, I think you did mention a couple of things pertaining to the challenges that you faced. If you can elaborate on these two things, one is, of course, the learnings that you got out of it, and also pertaining to the challenges, like what you went through during this journey from the perspective of a passionate solopreneur, because that's what you were aiming to do in that particular year or two. So yes, if you
yeah,
could give us an insight into it.
absolutely. So I don't know if I would be digressing, but I would like to
Mm-hmm,
mention
mm-hmm.
early in those days I was introduced to a book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferris.
Right.
Okay, that's one book that I strongly recommend
Mm-hmm,
everybody
mm-hmm.
reads. So he introduces us to a concept called mini retirement.
Oh, okay.
What that means is, at least for we in India, culturally, our thought process is we work for 30 years and then plan for a retirement after 60. I don't know how many years we're going to live after 60, but that's when we're going to use all the money, right?
Right.
So his thought is very unconventional that way. His thought process,
Mhm.
and that's what led me to coming come up with an option of taking mini retirements. Right, mini retirement is work for a few years, take a break. Work for you few years, take a break. Now coming back to your question, so that being at the back of my mind, one of the most important aspects that all of us would agree is travel teaches you a lot,
Yes.
right? So the first learning you asked about learning, the first learning that I had, I'm sure you would have heard all the travelers say this, is world is a much more beautiful place. World is a much more safe place than what the social media or the media portrays it to be,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That was the first learning. And every single person I have encountered in that year or whenever I've traveled so far, I have never had even one incident which was negative in nature which I can remember.
Right.
Everybody is welcoming you. They're seeing you as a pride because they see you as a guest, and they see pride in hosting you, and they ensure that you get everything
Right.
that you're looking for, right? So these are few learnings that I've had, and of course the food. I love to experiment with food, and oh my god, there's so much more to what we get to see as menus on the internet or elsewhere,
Right.
right? Just a basic aloo paratha with pickle served at Rajasthan from a mother of one of the bird guide. I still my mouth is watering when I'm talking about it. So it's phenomenal. So these were few of the learnings. Challenges. Say it's like this. Okay, I know it's a cliche, but I would like to mention it.
Yes.
The timing is never
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right? So you want to do something, go for it.
Mm.
There will never be a perfect time,
Right.
right? So this is something that we need to keep in mind, and at large things will fall in place. Challenges will continue to be challenges unless you want to call it opportunities,
Right. Right.
right? Now that's my HR talking, but in actual sense too,
Yes.
right? So that's what it's been. I don't know if I answered all your questions, but
Yes, yes,
yeah,
you did. And I totally agree with you because being a traveler myself, I totally agree and resonate with you when you say that, you know, outside world, I think it's a different classroom altogether. I think there's so much to learn
yeah,
rather than sitting in a classroom and learning about a few things. But I think travel is one amazing experience that teaches anyone, I think, a whole lot of things that you wouldn't have imagined. So totally resonate. And of course, the people that you meet on the journey or through any experience or in any place, I think, I'm sure you agree that when you go to the north of India, I think people are so welcoming, and I think I totally understand when you say that eating a very simple dish I think made from a loving mother. I think
Yeah,
it beats anything.
absolutely.
So totally resonate when you say these things, and of course, yes, the challenges as well. Yes. So I want to ask you again. So I mean, when you went back to work, I mean, which you mentioned, like, after you took this break and financially it was not working out for you, hence you wanted to move back. Um, so I want to understand what went through your mind at that point in time, because you were enjoying something which you love to do, and of course all of this was happening. There was learnings, there was experiences which you always wanted to explore and experience. um, so what went through your mind, because this is something that you had to let go of, probably for a shorter period of time, or you wanted to take it
Yeah.
up like part time. But I want to understand what was going through you, I mean, at this point in time, because it's quite a difficult task, because to leave a job and get onto your passion, and then again to take a break from the passion and get back to work. So I just want to understand what was going on in your mind, because it's quite a shift, because you want to transition to something that you really love to do, but again getting back. So yes, I mean, bottom line, all I want to know is, yes, I think it's been quite an experience. So I want to understand what was going on in your mind.
So that's reality, right, Shweta? So uh, I still very vividly remember that day. Those were the days when I was volunteering with a very uh, trusted NGO,
Mm, mm,
um, and their office was is off MG Road.
right.
Okay, that's about 10-12 kilometers from my house where I live. And that was the day when I had to make that decision. This was I got back to work in December, and I'm referring to December of 2018, and started work from January of
Mm-hmm.
2019. But I'm referring to somewhere about I think in November.
Yes.
Okay, when I had to make the
Right.
decision. So it was a tough
Mm-hmm.
call, as you would expect. So I walked back the 10-12 kilometers because I wanted time to think. I wanted time to answer a lot of questions, and as you would expect, there were a lot of big question marks staring at me, saying, "Hey, you know what? And do you really want to do this? Is this the right thing to do? Why not?" So, see, the way I look at it is that day as well as today, it's very easy to complain,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, it's me, it's my life, and I need to plan it well. I need to do things that are required to get it going,
Right.
right? And look at the larger picture. So in fact, that was an hour and a half of
Mm-hmm.
walking is when I also decided that okay, let us not. Until then, Shweta, my thought process was I'm going to work till 40. I turn 40, I turn 45, and then I'm going to retire, early retirement, and do this, I'll do that, etc. But that's when that day, that hour is when I realized that that may not be true, because I'm a person who does not. I don't like to live like a monk. Okay, I am not a minimalist. I'm a minimalist when it comes to traveling, but I would love to live my life king size.
Absolutely.
So I will not shy away from
Right.
luxuries. That means I need money. Okay. So as long as I can generate money, and if it means work, let me not let me not look at an early retirement, but let me look at a mini retirement once in 4 years, once in 5 years. We'll talk about it later, but
Yes.
that's one thing.
Right.
So that very thought
Mm-hmm.
of me going back to work,
Right.
and at the end of the day, I love my profession. I'm perceived successful as an HR.
Right.
I've played good. I would like to call it pretty good
Yes.
roles, right, in the field of HR. So I thought, why not go back to work,
Right.
continue to do whatever I'm
Right.
doing, and I clearly mix personal and professional life. I can be sending an email on one hand. I hope my boss doesn't listen to this conversation, but on one hand, and on the other hand, I can read a book.
Right.
Okay, and I've always been like that.
Right.
I don't know what you call it, but that's how it's been. So that decision was made that day, and no regrets. I'm happy. Looking forward to my next break, which is scheduled in 2024, and then there is another break scheduled in 2030. So the list is already all fixed, all set. The good part is I've learned the lesson. So the financial planning aspect of it is much more concrete now. Uh, I'm happy with whatever happened.
Yes, experience does teach you and it makes you wiser.
Yes, absolutely. I would like to think so.
but it's so amazing. I mean, even with whatever was going through, and being there for your family financially, and of course looking into your passion and also the work. I think you've done it beautifully. I would like to say that. And you already have some plans about the mini retirement, which we're going to talk
Yeah,
shortly on the 2024 one. I'm like, wanting to know what is it all about. But well, bottom line, I would just like to say that. Yeah, I think when you're passionate about something, and you really want to pursue it, I think it can be any way. I think as long as your needs and the basic essentials are taken care of, and I think, yeah, whichever way it is. I mean, you are at a job and you want to work on your passion, or you end up giving your work and then just work on your passion. I think it's two ways about it. There's always many ways about it, I would like to say.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, brilliant that you're doing it. I think even with the work and also with the photography aspect of it. So yes, so that's good. All right, so moving on. I know you mentioned that you tag along with a couple of your friends in the wedding photography genre. uh, so I want to ask you, I mean, I know it's wildlife photography and then there is wedding photography. So how did this happen? Like, I mean, was it an easy transition because you're of course focusing on something out there in the wild, and of course they don't have a clue as to they're getting photographed. But of course, coming to wedding photography, it's more about you connecting with the family, the bride, the groom. It's an entirely
yeah.
different ball game altogether. So how did this transition happen? So I would want to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure most of the wildlife photographers wouldn't agree with this, and likewise, the wedding photographers may not agree with this.
Hmm.
But the way I look at it from my eyes, right? So I was talking to you about the first wedding that we did, a temple wedding that we did.
Right.
I find of both of these ends of the
Hmm.
spectrum, there is a commonality between them. Okay, and that is I have the so I thoroughly enjoy wildlife, nature and wildlife.
Hmm.
It gives me a kick. It gives me a high
Yes.
when I'm capturing the moment.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a phenomenon, a natural phenomenon. I'm recording a natural history moment, right?
Correct.
Very similar to that for my eyes is a wedding where it's not a natural history moment, but it's an extremely important
Yes.
moment for the couple and their families. What really excited me and keeps me excited even till today about wedding photography is
Hmm. Hmm.
specifically wedding photography. I don't do any other type of photography
Right.
apart from when it comes to people. Is there is so much of positivity, there's so much of emotion, there's so much of everybody is looking up to this event, everybody wants this event to be successful. There is a, if I can call it, there is a riot of emotions there, right? So when I get to capture the bride's uh, eyes welling up when the knot is being tied.
Right.
Right now, that gives me the same amount of excitement as a photographer, as I get to cover a natural history moment. So I thoroughly enjoy every bit of it. Coming back to your question, I don't see that as a transition
Right.
of
Right.
sorts. I see that as something which really excites me. And at the end of the day, for the person behind the camera, that's what keeps you going, right?
Yes.
The moment that you're trying to capture has to be a story that you would like to convey for the audience, the intended audience. And bottom line, at the end of the day, you have to enjoy what you're doing and be excited about it.
Yes.
On the other hand, weddings, especially I've never got an opportunity to cover weddings beyond, I mean, outside of India.
Hmm.
The Indian culture weddings, the highlight, if I can call it, is the amount of rituals that we have, the amount of customs that we have,
Yes.
and for each one of it, so I thoroughly enjoy it. So in lighter vein, every time I complete a wedding and come back, I tell my mom that yeah, I can I. It was as if I completed another wedding. It was me in the shoes of completing another wedding.
Right.
So it's an amazing thing that I thoroughly enjoy.
Wonderful. I mean, so glad that you didn't tell that as something that you transitioned from this to that. You said it's completely different. I mean, of course, both the genres, but then it's all about that emotions pertaining to both the aspects. When you said that you get high on both the things, so
Yeah,
yes, I think
yeah,
that's beautiful. I think coming from a photographer, I think who sees two things in the same aspect. It's probably the genre is different, but the way you want to
yeah.
perceive it is the same. So yeah, wonderful.
Great.
So I would probably the listeners want to know as to what kind of gear do you use for wedding photography especially. So if you could like to share about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So I'm in terms of one there is one common question that
Uh-huh.
beginners ask, which I would like to
Yes, yes,
clarify.
please.
Sony, Canon, Nikon, all of them are exceptional.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so a photographer, a professional photographer, or a professional wildlife photographer, or a professional wedding photographer of
Right,
sorts, will choose one brand over another, largely because of the comfort of knowing that particular gear,
right.
the ease of use of menus, and also the options of glass that's available. I'm talking about lens that is available.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one
Mm-hmm.
thing. So I use I've always used two different
Mm-hmm.
manufacturers. On one, I am a two camera
All right.
photographer, so I always have one particular brand on the right and other particular brand on the left, and it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Coming to your question, I'm a full frame photographer.
Yes.
I enjoy I would like to take the benefit of having large
Mm-hmm.
pixels on the photographs that
Mm-hmm.
I click, so that tomorrow I can go ahead and process them, I can edit them, and editing and all of that I'm referring to is from the wedding photography
Yes.
side. Nature related photographs I seldom edit, and it's not something which I enjoy doing. I would like to keep it as is, so that the audience get to see what I saw even without the camera.
Right.
Right. Coming to wedding photography, there is some requirement where you have to remove some elements from the frame, where you have to look at a different composition, etc., etc. And so I definitely I take advantage of the full frame sensor. So I'm a full frame
Mm-hmm.
shooter. I also thoroughly enjoy the bouquets that you get out of prime lenses,
Yeah.
uh, and even zoom lenses, of
Right.
course, which you get as a benefit from higher aperture opening. So that's an again.
Yes.
So I use an f2.8 lens if I have to get technical about
Mm-hmm.
it, largely, and f2.8 and probably below that. So that's the gear that I use. So Canon and Nikon. So I've always
Right.
been using two or three more, or even Fuji I've used for some time in
All
between.
right. Okay, wonderful. All right. So moving on, I would want to ask about Hollowbones Trust. So I want to know the story behind it. What triggered you to start this? And firstly, what's with the name Hollowbones? Yeah, I think the entire story, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for asking. So hollow bones, simple. Birds have hollow bones, and that's why they can fly. So we call this program hollow bones. But stepping back a
Hmm.
little, so I had taken my son. He was, I think, 6 or 7 back then. I had taken him on a nature stroll, and I saw the amount of interest and curiosity and exploration kind of mindset that children have. So my friend and I, both of us started birding
Hmm.
together. She used to be my colleague in the earlier company that I was
Right.
working. So we have traveled a lot. We continue to travel a lot, for birding
Hmm.
especially. So both of us caught up one day at a cafe, and we were like, I was saying, hey, you know what, my I saw the kind of excitement my son was showing, and if you and I, so both of us are trained naturalists, the same naturalist program which you were talking
Hmm.
about. It's called Naturalist Training Program conducted by Mr. Karthik from
Yes.
Jungle. And prior to that, I had also completed a volunteers training program conducted by Karnataka Forest
Hmm.
Department. So we did have some basic knowledge about what and how to approach in terms of education or exploration kind of a thought process. So we said, let's do this.
Hmm.
We just wanted to attempt conducting a session for children. Okay, so we put a so-called PPT together with videos and games and whatnot, and my brother-in-law's place, that's my wife's brother's place. They live in an apartment, community. So we said, let's hire the clubhouse there and pilot a program.
Mm-hmm.
2 half a days, half a day on a Saturday, which is inside the classroom, half a day on Sunday, we'll go
On the field.
explore a lake nearby for birding.
Right.
So we did that as an experiment. It was, I don't know if you have to call it social experiment, but we did that experiment.
Yes.
And the results were phenomenal. The children there who came, so that's because my son is of 6 years old. We said we'll come up with content
Yeah.
with which is uh, which is intended for an audience between 6 years and 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, 6 years because any children below that may not be able to understand what we're trying to tell them. About 12 years, they are, in today's curriculum, right, and the environment science curriculum that's there in all in the school, also you include introduces children to a lot of these subjects. So we said we'll restrict our target audience to 6 to 12 years
Mm-hmm.
of age.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back to this, the first so this first session that we had, there were children who showed so much of an interest that even after the session, after in fact even today we're in touch. So we have a group for all the Hollowbones parents where I write something or my friend writes something and we publish and they also share something, and that's a forum that we
Right.
use. So it was really fulfilling, right? So one thing led to another. We did a couple of more sessions, and then in the meanwhile, we also approached Jungle Lodges,
Mm-hmm.
and Jungle Lodges was very kind to go ahead and offer us their
Wow.
property for this particular initiative. And we've done about, I think, about 6 sessions so far at one of their properties, which is close to Bangalore. They have offered it to us at a throwaway price. As I mentioned, this entire Hollowbones initiative is a non-profit.
Right.
Uh, not even in a, we don't charge anything extra. It is bare minimum to function for the event to happen, right? So we went ahead and then the pandemic hit and we had to uh, you know hold on for some time. We're just waiting. In fact, as we speak, even last day, last week, there were parents of these Hollowbones children were asking as to when is the next session happening and things like that. So we are also eagerly waiting. We're just seeing how the vaccination drive happens and when the numbers will go down and government is okay with reconducting sessions for children. But coming back to this, yeah. So that's what led to the entire Hollowbones initiative.
Right.
Uh, so as the popular saying goes, right? When the going is right, everything will fall in place.
Yes.
What happened was what has happened in the recent past is a couple of schools who have reached out to us
Mm-hmm.
through our known contacts,
Mm-hmm.
where they have asked us to volunteer and include our Hollowbones session
Wow.
in their curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not curriculum as in a class
Right.
which happens on a regular basis, but once in a quarter, once in half year, they want us to go ahead and teach children on what we do through Hollowbones initiative.
Right.
So that is one, and another large trust from a nearby, from a place, from a school nearby to Bangalore, also has approached us to do a field guide
Mm.
for birds of that location. Okay, so when these things started to fall in place, and day in and out, we have started to see a lot of people, a lot of parents, a lot of second contacts, third level contacts reaching out to us for something or the other on this front.
Right.
We said, hey, you know what, this is the right time. Let us go ahead and create a trust,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
have a separate so the accounting, all of that is taken care of.
Yes.
It's a non-profit and we want it to be black and white, right? So that's the reason we went ahead and registered as a trust. As we speak, I think it's been about a couple of weeks since we registered as a trust,
Wow. Wow.
and we're all excited, just waiting to see how it goes forward from here.
Yes, I think it's a superb initiative, and just kudos to you for that, for starting it. So congratulations on that, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
it goes a really long way. Well, I have a follow up question to what you said about hollow bones. One is, could you tell us more about the workshops that you conduct? You know, what does it include? And also, I want your view and experience in teaching children about this, because I know schools do have, you know, probably. they have a basic curriculum which talks about wildlife, nature. Then of course they have the birds, animals, which they learn probably as they go forward into that specific like botany, zoology, etc. So I want to know your perspective pertaining to educating the young minds about it, because it's not just about wildlife or birds, but then it's about bringing in the element of the importance of nature. Because I'm sure you agree, right? I think our generation, I think over the years, we see ourselves just hooked to our jobs, and then we don't travel much, or if it's just about travel, it's just about getting into a hotel or getting going to a resort. But there's nothing like an element of an outside experience, like an outdoor experience where you're in the forest exploring things, or with respect to birding, because you have to go in search of the birds. There's a whole lot of things, and the aspect I feel is lost, and which you are trying to revive it through these workshops. So I want to know your perspective on this, and also could you tell us more about the workshops? What do they include? Yes.
Sure. So let me first tell you about the workshop. So what we
Yes.
do is, okay, I'll answer both the questions in one
Yes.
answer, right? So it's like this. There's a common belief that children of this generation are not keen on things outside their comfort zone. There's a general notion that children are very happy with their gadgets and gizmos, etc. Uh, Even I was under that
Mm-hmm,
belief.
mm-hmm.
However, a very happy revelation after interacting with children through Hollowbones medium is what we have seen is, yes, that's partially true, but as long as you're able to show them, tell them stories, show them, show them the beautiful
Mm-hmm.
aspects of nature, be it birds, be it a centipede, be it a millipede, be it a tree, be it a leaf, be it a spider web. I think they are very receiving. They're very open to learning.
Yes.
Okay. Now that is something which we knew, but we thought that maybe they've moved beyond going outside and they are confined to their homes, which is not true. So that was a very happy revelation
Mm-hmm,
through this
mm-hmm.
medium. On the other hand, birds teach you a lot of patience because you know how birding is. Children probably teach you a little more patience than birds, right? So holding them on to you, grabbing their attention, consistently maintaining that they continue to focus on what you're trying to tell them. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also learned through this one after another. We've gotten a little better
Right.
in our sessions,
Mm-hmm,
and it also has helped us evolve in our programs,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
So coming back to our the entire day. So it's because now we are doing it in a jungle lodges property. We book the entire
Mm-hmm,
day.
mm-hmm.
The children, parents are free to drop the children and go back or continue to stay there. Okay, so it's an option which Jangologist is given at a very nominal fee. So some parents choose to stay back because Jangologist property, this particular Jangologist property, like all others, is unbelievably amazing. I mean, whoever comes there would not want to go back,
Yes.
right? So we start off with a small activity, then we get back to the classroom. In classroom, again, it's not a PowerPoint. I mean, how would you engage children with PowerPoint? So we do a lot of quiz, we do a lot of sketching and activities like that inside the classroom. And then again, so it's like one in, one out.
Mm.
So we have one activity outside,
Mm.
yeah, one activity inside the classroom, one activity outside. That goes on till afternoon, and yummy lunch is served again, thanks to Jungle Lodges. Then what we do is there is also a butterfly park. So that we actually now it's public, but until now it's a surprise for children. So hollow bones, we talk about birds, etc., but they wouldn't have guessed about butterflies. So there's an exclusive walk on butterflies that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And post that, then again afternoon we have some outdoor games, and then we head out for the bird walk after 4 o'clock, 4:30, because that's the time for birding in the evening. And then we come back and wind it up.
Mm.
Okay, so it's we start at 9 in the morning, we end at 6 in the evening. It's a full day packed with
Right.
activities, and yep. So that's how we do it. That's how we've been doing it, and we keep refining the
Mm-hmm.
content,
Mm-hmm.
both what we do inside and
Right.
outside. But overall, the format is this. it seems to be working well.
Okay, lovely, brilliant. I mean, it's so glad that you're doing this for the young minds who need this. I mean, so elated that you've started off with this. So could you tell the listeners out there, like how can they enroll their children or their nephews or nieces into this program, or how can they get to know about it? Like, is there a online platform? And again, if you can tell them about the age limit as well. So yes.
Yeah, sure. So when we started off, as I said, it was more of an experiment. We wanted to see how children will
Hmm.
take it, whether they would be even interested at all in something like
Yes.
this, right? So we kept it. We've always kept it only through the communication of this program, only through known circles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that we are going bigger, we have. I'm no techie, though I work in
Mm-hmm.
IT. So I've still managed to build my own website. It's called hollowbones.in.
Ah, okay.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so I have also created an Instagram handle, etc., etc., but no post yet there yet. I mean, all of this has happened in the last 1 week or
Yes.
so. So there will be email addresses mentioned, there would be contact numbers mentioned. So this program is meant for children between 6 and 12 for
Mm-hmm.
now, age of 6 and
Mm-hmm.
12. And every time we come up with a program or an initiative, we go ahead and announce it through these channels. So as I said, we have a group for the parents of hollow bones
Mm-hmm.
children. So we communicate through this, and till today, it's been word of mouth that we've used. So going forward, we will be communicating it through our social media platform, through our website, through again word of mouth, and through friends like you.
Yes, absolutely. I would, be super glad to, share it with the world out there of this initiative. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So just getting back to your wildlife photography. So I want to know what has been your favorite wildlife photo shoot? And could you tell us about that experience and what was the setting like and what was the gear that you used? Yes, all of your favorite shoot.
Sure. So, at least when it comes to wildlife, it's extremely difficult for you to pick one against the others.
Yes.
However, I would like to talk about not from wildlife point of view, but the location point of view.
Yes.
Um, so, one definitely that stands out when you ask me this question is Uttarakhand,
Yeah.
especially when we went up to
Mm-hmm.
Chopta from Satal.
Mm-hmm.
And Chopta is at a very high altitude, and even in April, you need to wear layers. It's that cold.
Right.
Okay, so photographing there, the Himalayan monal is one of the sought after birds. Birders would know.
Mm-hmm.
It's again, a riot of colors. If you look at that bird, you would wonder, why is this not our national bird? Why is it peacock? Okay, so that was a phenomenal
Right.
experience. It is so cold that your fingers are frozen. There is a moment happening in front of you, but you can't click the shutter button because your
Yeah.
fingers are not working. So that is a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
experience. Apart from that, I thoroughly enjoy Bharatpur. The Bharatpur I'm referring to is
Right.
the one that is in
Rajasthan.
Rajasthan.
Yes.
Rajasthan. Okay. So for people like you who are familiar with Himalayas, I know the other Bharatpur that you referred to. So I was specific. So there's a Kaladev National Park
Mm-hmm.
in
Right.
Rajasthan at the place called
Right.
Bharatpur. That's another phenomenal place for me. I go there every year at least once.
Yes.
In addition to that, in Karnataka, there is Dandeli, which I thoroughly
Yeah.
enjoy. I intentionally avoid all the tiger destinations because people are. I'm not a big cat guy. I've been lucky to spot many, but I still tend to be a birder.
Right.
So these are few. So coming to the
Yes.
gear, I use a super telephoto long lens. Some people call it bazooka.
Okay.
That comes with a lot of weight and other hassles, but the kind of quality that the pictures that I can create through that is mind blowing. So it's a 500 telephoto lens that I use, and with a teleconverter on my full frame lens.
Wow.
Because you asked.
Amazing. And I know I've seen you with that big one.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. All right. Okay, to the next interesting question, which I think we did, talk about a bit in the beginning. Yeah, before getting on to that, I know you're an ardent cyclist. So I want to know, how did that get started and how has been your experience so far? And also the fact that, I think 2024, you intend to do a world tour on a motorcycle.
Yes, yes.
So could you tell us more about it? One is, of course, being a cyclist, and one is about, of course, your next expedition.
So until last year,
Mm-hmm.
Shweta, I have never done anything to do with fitness.
Ah.
Okay, so I used to just do my birding, etc., and I would consider that to be my fitness regime. Then came the wish list, thanks to a friend called Shweta who went around Annapurna circuit, okay, and really inspired me. You know what I'm talking
Oh.
about. I think you don't know. Okay, who really inspired me, and that coupled with my experience at Uttarakhand when I visited the
Mm-hmm.
mountains, you know how it is, right? So it's an addiction. Mountains are an addiction. So I've always wanted to visit, do a parikrama at Manasarovar
Yes.
and visit Mount Kailash, right? So I mean Manasarovar and parikrama of Mount
Yes.
Kailash. So that is when I was told about how Tibetan, how it is, how the entire process happens and how your fitness levels should be, etc., etc. And I said I'm not going to take a pony.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ride a
Yeah.
horse. I'm going to do it on foot.
Yeah.
So if I have to do it on foot, my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, who is an ardent cyclist and he's into running and he's a monster when it comes to all of fitness. So he said, "Boss, if you want to do all of this, you need to change your lifestyle. First thing you do is start running." I said, "Okay, I can't run." He said, "You should run." So that's where it started.
Right.
I've been running for 1 year now. Last March is when I
Wow.
started running,
Wow.
and cycling is something which I've always enjoyed. I mean, like all of us, right? Cycling takes you back to school days. Cycling takes you back to your childhood.
Yes.
So I started that, but then I got a little more serious about cycling. There's something called as brevets that are conducted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's called randonneuring. So that's where I enrolled. I've been cycling. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. But yeah, so that's what keeps me going. So I cycle about 150 kilometers a week.
Wow.
I do brevets. The longest brevet that I've done is about 300
Wow.
kilometers in one go. So these are all timed events. You need to complete
Okay.
it within a specified time
Mm-hmm.
limit, and there is a route that is already given, and it's a self-supported ride. So if something goes wrong, then you're held accountable for
Yeah.
yourself, right? You don't have anybody to point a finger at. Running, I'm still not there. I've been running as we speak. I've done my 49 10Ks till
Whoa.
today in the last one
Wow.
year, but I've not been able to complete the 50th one. Even last evening I tried to run, but there's some issue and I came back.
Ah.
It's an injury prone
Right.
sport, and I've never been a runner, so it's like this. While both are on two wheels, cycling and motorcycling are a completely different
Yes.
sport
Yeah.
altogether. Motorcycling is again, all of us started like any other Bangalore youth. When I started riding a bike, I wanted to go to Leh, Ladakh. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. However, that never happened. Okay, but I've been riding short distances. It so happened that I enjoy reading books, especially biographies and autobiographies, and I was introduced to a book called The Lost City of Z.
Mm.
The book is about a British explorer who goes on to explore a particular mythical city in the Amazon basin.
Right.
Okay, a very popular guy in his
Mm.
days. However, he also takes his children, his sons, who are teenagers, and then he gets lost.
Wow.
Okay, until today nobody knows what happened to him. But that book really moved me.
Right.
Okay, I began to question as to what am I doing in life if not for exploration, right? And yet another excuse for me to pick up a bike and then go world touring, right? So that's something. There are thousands of people who've done world touring. Okay, there are many books out there. Juniper Travels, and few of the books that I can think of, I can
Right.
remember. So I said, let me go ahead, let me try this. But this time, unlike
Mm.
2018, where I took a break and I had to come back, here it's a much more well planned from finances, from the route, because you're talking about world tour. It's no simple
Yeah.
feat. And luckily for me, I had actually thought of doing a solo trip. Luckily for me, another friend of mine uh, who shares a lot of we share a lot of commonalities. He said he's also very keen to do something like this. So both of us have been
Super.
planning. So all the SIPs, mutual funds, everything, all the savings have already begun. It's been going on for a year or
Right.
so. But it's going to quite it cost quite a bomb. And as I said, I would also look at. I'm not going to camp everywhere. I'm going to look at options where I also can enjoy the luxuries of staying in a hotel. So all set, looking forward to 2024. And the timing is, again, as I said, the timing is never right. But here, the timing is a little right because my son will be in ninth
Nice.
grade. So that I can still venture out because 1 year after that, then he'll be in his 10th grade.
Correct.
And I don't know how much I will help him sail through, but my family wouldn't allow me to go.
Yes. Wow, amazing. I think, come on, you have, of course, inspired me, and you have inspired me in the past. And of course, you're inspiring me now as well and motivating me to do, of course, something. So, I mean, again, I mean, it's amazing that, you are planning it out and, of course, looking out for something. And I think we all need to do this, right? I think it isn't about the same, like, you just work and then, of course, initially when you spoke about, the later part of the retirement, I think after 60, that doesn't work. I think we also need to enjoy it right when we are young and fit. Come on, I think you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
expect to do that, after 60 or 70. So yes, I
yes.
mean, so nice that, you're planning it out in a very logical way and putting things wherever that is required to. And yeah, so super, and all the best for that. So would
Thank you.
love to be watch out for what you're doing out there. So yeah, super. Okay. All right. So I want to know, I mean, pertaining to talking from your work perspective, or pertaining to the hollow bones perspective, or other ventures or passions that you have currently running. So I want to know, how has the pandemic been? I mean, was there a positive side to it or a negative side to it? I want to know your experience and views on that.
Yes, so both positive as well as
Mm,
negative. Positive side is so so the best part about working from home is you can plan your day, right? And more so for people like me who work with American companies where most of your calls are in the evening or early in the
right.
morning. So throughout your day, you can plan your day. So that's a big positive.
Yes.
The other positive is you also can balance out activities, say be it workouts, be it you want to do a short travel, do something, come back. You have any household chores, yeah, anything that you have to
Right.
attend to. So all of those things are good. The biggest drawback is that people connection is missing,
Mm,
right? So most whether you're in HR or otherwise, we work in the people industry, and most of the work gets done with face-to-face interaction, with just a phone
right.
call, right? So here, um, all said, right? I mean, if I because you asked me this question, I'm wearing my HR hat here. The attrition and those things are at a roof at an all-time high. It's hitting the rooftop because see, when you're working, you have your colleague, you have your co-worker in front of you. You know if something is not right, you speak to her or him, put things in place, do what you can do, and things like that. Here, you're stuck in front of your Zoom
Mm,
and emails and calls. So the personal connection is taking a big beating. Okay, and same thing applies to. I'm more worried about children
mm,
because their emotional and social intelligence is taking a beating, especially the
right.
kids, because I mean, how would they express what they want to express? Because we're not even letting them go out and play,
Mm,
right? So they're confined to the house. They're looking at their moms, dads, grandparents' faces throughout the day, or stuck to a television or a gadget, and it is really taking a beating on them. So that's the negative side of it.
mm.
So yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Um, so I want to know, I mean, so especially considering we're talking about the pandemic, of course, well-being is of utmost importance. It has been in the past year and also now. More so now because we're all like focusing on our health and well-being and all of that sorts. So I want to know, what is your well-being or workout routine like, and what do you indulge in apart from work, apart from photography, and apart from cycling?
Yeah. So I'm in my known circle. I'm popular to be extreme in anything and everything that I do. So as I said, until last year, I was never doing anything into fitness, and then I got into fitness, and I am like, to give you an example. I have been active for 301 days to be precise, because I track it in the
Wow.
last 1 year, doing some workout activity or the other, right? Uh,
Super.
enough of my boasting, but coming back to your question, so I'm a yoga person. Again, thanks to friends like you who have inspired me to be one.
Yeah.
That's something which has really changed me physiologically and mentally. I also do my bit of strength training. I also do my bit of for the running and cycling and things like that.
Yes.
So I generally take 1 day off in a week. Otherwise, I'm working or pretty much working or doing something or the other 6 days
Right.
in the week.
Right. Wow.
So that's how it's been. The good part is, so as we have seen in the history, every time there is a problem,
Mhm.
innovative solutions come out. So thanks to pandemic, there are a lot of online workout options, online yoga options that came out, and I've been using capitalizing on almost all of them, and I'm a happy recipient.
Super, super amazing. I think it's good to know that you're doing a variety of things and making use of the online courses out there. Super glad. All right. So we come to the end. So we come to the last section, which I call as the Pruner Spotlight section. So I'm going to run you through a few questions. It could be on the personal front or the professional front, and you could answer to me in a word or two or a couple of sentences. It's totally left up to you. All right, so do we get
Sure,
started?
let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. My first question is, what is your ikigai? So, ikigai is nothing but the reason for your being. So, what is that one thing which you would do on any given day, no matter what is happening around the world? So, what is it?
I don't know if it's cliche to say this, but yeah, I would love to travel no matter what's happening around the world.
Super, great. All right. So the second question, any person who has inspired you or a book which has inspired you. So anything, you can talk about both or any one of them.
So I would not be able to pick
Hmm.
one. So there have been several books that have inspired me and several people who have inspired me.
Absolutely.
But if so, let me stick to so book. I've spoken a lot about books, so let me stick to people.
Right.
So when it comes to running, for example,
Mm.
my superhero, her name is Courtney Dauwalter.
All right.
Okay, she's a long distance ultra marathon runner.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So there are a couple of documentaries on her on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I feel low, I just look for her any content on about her, and that changes me, right? So that brings me back to happiness, or gives me a high. So she is one of my superheroes that I look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right.
I can think
Super.
of her. And yeah, and coming to motorcycling, right?
Yes.
So there's a person called Kinga.
Ah,
So she is a solo motorcycle traveler. She's been traveling for the last 4 years,
okay.
and oh man, it's called her channel is called On Her Bike. And anytime and every time, I just need an excuse to go on to YouTube and watch a video of hers.
Oh,
So she definitely has inspired me a lot.
super, super. Amazing. So women are inspiring you.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Super, super. Okay. All right. So my next question is, hypothetically, if you turn out to be the richest person in the world tomorrow, so what would you like to do? Or would you continue to do what you're already doing?
I would continue to do what I'm already doing, but at a much more grandeur scale.
Yes.
So I would, if I become another Jeff Boss or any of those Elon Musk or any of those guys with so-called richest man in the world,
Yes.
I would probably set myself challenges to how to spend as much, what is the maximum amount of money I can spend in a day. So that's what I would probably look forward to, in addition to what all I'm doing.
All right, perfect. Okay. I want to ask you, what is your I mean, of course, this is pertaining to you being a wildlife photographer and of course a nature enthusiast. Um, is there a particular place that's on your mind that you would want to go and probably go for birding, or just for the purpose of just enjoying the nature out there? Is there any location that are you like it's on your mind and you really want to go, or probably your dream destination?
Yeah, there are two actually.
Yes.
One is, of course, the Cradle of Earth, Masai Mara,
Ah,
and Serengeti, right?
right.
So that is one.
Mm-hmm.
So Tanzania and Kenya.
Right.
The other is the Arctic,
Ah.
the auroras, right?
Oh yes.
So Northern Lights is something which I've always wanted to. More so recently, a cousin of mine lived there, and he came back. He went on an expedition and came back, and he spoke so much about it.
Oh
I,
wow.
I can't just wait to get there.
Wow. Amazing. Super, super, super. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. What is your definition of success?
If I'm able to sleep peacefully, which I always do, I think that's success. Because it's going to, success is a very relative term, right? It's going to
Yes.
change by the minute,
Yes.
if not by the second.
Right.
So if I'm able to that today, I'm going to go back to sleep saying that, oh my God, this is the first time I've gotten interviewed. I'm going to be featured on a podcast. It's like, wow, it's an achievement for me. So I'm going to be very happy. So that's what is success for me.
Super. I think that's so well said. I think that's what it is. Right? As long as you can get a
Yeah.
good night's sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming to my last question. So what is that one key takeaway or learning or a tip that you want to give the audience or the listeners out here? So it could be pruners who have just started this journey of exploring or pursuing their passion. They could be doing it as a full time, or like you as a side pruner. Or we're just wanting to start this journey. So what would you like to tell them?
So point number one, the time is never right. You need to make it right. Just go for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? That's point number one. Point number two is you will never have enough time. So that should not be an excuse. So everybody has 24 hours, right? So that should never be an excuse to stop you from doing, exploring
Mm.
anything and everything that you want to. Point number three, and the last, and also most important, is if you are a working professional, please remember that work should, I mean, this is my opinion, okay? I might be completely wrong. But work should be one of the things that you should do. It should not be, if you're doing only work 24 hours a day, you're going to die soon, die up here soon,
Right.
right? The world is a beautiful place. Please explore. Doesn't mean you have to travel. You can sit in your house and explore. There's enough content out there, enough medium out there. And I think in the history of technology, we are at the best time ever, right? So please do explore something beyond work. Don't just stick to your computer or whatever else you do.
Wonderful. Thank you for those wise words. And I'm sure, I think the listeners out there or people who want to start off, I think it's just an amazing key points that they can, take into mind and get started. So thank you for that. So Praveen, how can one reach out to you? I know there are different aspects to it. One is the wildlife photography, then there's hollow bones, and then there is the wedding photography. So if you could give us details as to how one can reach out to you for all of these. Yes.
Yeah, the easiest way to reach out to me will be my permanent email address, because each of these initiatives have their own email addresses. It'll get
Yes.
confusing. So I would be happy to receive any email on ka.praveen@gmail.com. I will also share it with you so that you can put that up in the description.
Yes.
That will be the easiest way to reach out to me.
Okay, perfect. And I will surely put it in my episode description. So Praveen, thank you so much. It has been an amazing conversation with you. As always, even when we did, do it offline. So happy to have learned about, of course, your journey into wildlife photography, wedding photography, and of course, the beautiful initiative that you've just started, which is called as Hollow Bones, to educate children on birds and nature as such. So wonderful to talk to you, and it's been, I think, for me, it's been quite an inspiring conversation as well, because you're into onto a whole lot of things and you're taking it one step at a time to pursue your passion. And I think, yeah, that speaks volumes, because that's what we all want to do, because we just want to go out and explore the passion and do that. But somehow, of course, some people, we're just hesitant to leave that and let go of the reins, let go of the control. But I think you are a testament that you have tried it out, and you have, like, have a roadmap now, to how to go about it. So it's been super super super, glad that I could talk to you on a whole lot of things. And again, thank you so much, and I'm so 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 honored to have you on my show. Thank you once again.
I must thank you, Shweta. I feel like a celebrity. You made my day. it's an awesome, it was an awesome experience. Every time you asked my question, I had to either look up or look right or left. My right brain or left brain working, but it was really awesome interacting with you on this front. I'm going to call you soon after this to ask you how it went. But thank you.
Great. All right. So thank you so much again.